Well, hi, I'm Rosebean and I like to draw. And oh boy, I haven't posted in a while. But that's okay, because I'm here to talk about Snezhnaya, the new region that's about to be coming to Genshin Impact, and I will be designing a couple new characters that I think would fit in this region pretty well. Starting off with the face of the region. The face of the region is usually one of the first characters you meet when you first get to that region, and they are usually, not always, a medium female model. Characters that fall under this trope are like Columbina, Mualani, or Hutao, characters that are very recognizable and are often very heavily associated with the story of their region. So with all that, here's my face of the region, Pinye. She is a pyro, polearm, off-field support. Her inspirations are Strikni and 50s diner waitresses. Strikni is a Russian food. It is pancakes made out of cottage cheese, and it's usually served with some sort of red jam and or whipped cream. That's also what she's holding in her hand, a plate of Strikni. But in the end, I decided it would look a little bit cuter if I didn't put the jam on it, but maybe this person who ordered it had a special request. Strikni is also the main inspiration for her color palette and story, because she works at a breakfast place owned by her family called Fairy Tale Foods. This is also a reason why she's pyro, because pyro characters usually have something to do with family or family tradition. But she's also pyro because I wanted the excuse to make these little parts of her outfit that look like an old oven. So the little lines on her shoes and her apron are filled in with this blended color to appear like there is a fire on the inside. Pinye's name comes from a combination of two words, pirouette and beignet. Ballet is very popular in Russia, so I named her after a ballet move. And then beignet is a dessert that is very sweet and very light and very fluffy. So two things that are kind of related to her. I know technically I probably should have given her a warmer outfit, but to be fair, she is pyro, so she's going to have a lot of that internal temperature, and also she primarily works inside, so she's not going to be really exposed to the cold. Still, looking back, I think I should have given her some knee-high socks with a cute swirly pattern or something. Just a little bit of extra clothing to keep the cold out. For her rarity, she would be a 5-star, but she would be on standard, so if you lose your 50-50, you're gonna get her instead of the character that you actually wanted. Here is her signature weapon, her polearm, and here is her signature dish, Strikni, but her version is called A Tale as Old as Time. And here is her final design. Next up, we have the little guy. The little guy is usually the shortest character in the region, whether that be a short medium model or just an actual child model. But usually they're known for literally just being a little guy. For example, Nahida has a child model, but she's not known for being very childish. Somebody that would be known for being very childish is like Chi-Chi. I present to you Lyev, the Cryo Bow DPS. Do I know what DPS means? No, but I'm pretty sure it means they do a high amounts of damage when on field. If somebody would be so kind to spare a morsel of information in the comments and tell me what DPS actually stands for. Lyev is half Liyue, half Snezhnayan, so the real-world equivalent of that would be Chinese and Russian, but he does live in Snezhnaya. His fox traits, in combination with the fact that his name is Lyev, is a reference to Dmitry Belyayev, who bred silver foxes to the point of near domestication. Despite the fact that he primarily bred silver foxes during his lifetime, now there are currently Arctic foxes being bred the same way that he wanted them to. That's why he's an Arctic fox. Also, Arctic foxes can be found in China and Russia, so I thought it was very appropriate considering his heritage. The rest of his color palette is inspired by a clear day out on the Arctic tundra, and those really pretty sky blues melting with the slightly yellow tinged snow. Actually, why is the snow so yellow? Nobody have snow cones today. They are not lemon flavored. Putting the snow cone incident aside for now, Liev is cryo, which means he needs to have some sort of juxtaposition in his life. His juxtaposition is that despite being half Arctic fox, he is incredibly weak to the cold and gets cold super fast. So you could often find him huddled up in an igloo, resting beside a fireplace, or eating some super hot food to keep him nice and warm. And speaking of hot food, here is his signature weapon and his signature dish, which is borscht with a skewer of duck meat called Toasty and Tasty. And here's the final design with the extra swirl patterns that I forgot to add. And now we have our final character who falls under the category of the old man. In Genshin, there are many characters that fall under the category of the old man, such as Neuvillette, Zhongli, Flins, and Citlali, even though she's not a man. So I proudly present to you our resident old man, Greg Evovich, based on my actual grandfather. Greg is a Dendro sword shielder who can also do some kinds of damage. And if you couldn't tell by the ears, he is a Fae, specifically a Leshy, which is one of the only Fae that we haven't seen in Genshin so far. For his original story concept, I thought it would be cool what if he was the dad of Pantalone? But then, in the recent quest...
What is this? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Chat, who is this and why is his name Refrigerator? Can you tell I'm very dyslexic? Greg is Dendro, which means he has something to do with knowledge. So, for his concept, he runs a small school sort of situation where anybody can come and learn drafting and architecture and construction and building skills, because that's what he does. So if you ever need help with building something like a barn or a library or something, you go to Greg and he will figure out the whole schematics part of the project. But the silly part of Greg is, because he's so old even for a Leshy, sometimes he'll just sleep standing up. That's why he has some fungus growing on him, because you can not see him for 6 months, and then you crack open a loaf of raisin bread and suddenly he's knocking on your door waiting for a slice. He really likes raisin bread, partially because he used to teach in the Sumero Academia for, construction and whatever, but while he was there, he got a taste for raisins, and raisin bread is his favorite way to have them. Leshy are known in folklore as being forest protectors, so I think it would make sense if he was vegetarian. Now, this isn't necessarily because he doesn't want to hurt animals, it's more of that's what's easiest for him because he's kind of old and kind of slow, but he does love animals. He loves feeding pigeons. I made his skin rather cool-toned in a reference to some Leshy in folklore have blue blood, even though in my head I don't think he has blue blood. Half of it is because of the original lore and half of it because more cool-toned skin looks better with greens. Another thing about his skin is that I really wanted to put some wood patterns on it, but I thought that would take too long and I already need to get this video out sometime this century, so maybe I'll do another version of this with the wood patterns, but not right now. A lot of times in folklore, Leshy are described as wearing very regular clothing, except with the detail of usually the left side being buttoned to the right, which is opposite of the customary fashion. But there is nothing that says he can't have a cool scarf with his vision pinned to it. And this last part that I'm doing is also the reason why I couldn't have him related to Pantalone, because again, I made him before Pantalone was in-game. Because, as you can see, Greg has golden eyes, so I was thinking, okay, if Greg is Pantalone's dad, they would probably both have gold eyes, or some sort of related trait. But no, he has purple eyes, and I hate it. It should have been gold. It should have been gold. Arr. But regardless of my opinions on these characters, here is Greg's signature weapon, and his signature dish. Greg's used to be grape bread. Now, really quickly before I show you his final design, I want to say my actual grandpa, who he is based off of, offered so generously to voice act him. So here is the finished Greg, and here is some of his hypothetical lines done by my awesome grandpa.
Well, hi, I'm Greg Evovich. Do you have any raisin bread? I like raisin bread. Wow, you're very smart for your age. Okay, I go now.
So with that, that's all 3 characters that I made for Snezhnaya, and thanks for watching.